Tonight's species can be found both inshore and offshore. This fish likes structure, reefs, and the flats. Its favorite food is a crab, and it's probably the hardest fish to catch on a fly rod. If you haven't guessed by now, we're talking permit here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We hope you all had a fun-filled 4th of July weekend on or off the water. I know that we did. But today, Rick, we've got sizzling summertime reports for you, talking all about them permit and a few guests in the house from Noble Air and the Bonefish Tarpon Trust with lots to talk about. Right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie. And we did have a great weekend. Everybody stayed safe. And more importantly, I'm really looking forward to Dave at the workbench tonight.
Me too. We need to see how he's doing. You survived the weekend, Dave?
I got all my fingers.
That's great.
Which is unusual. They're usually singed pretty good on the 4th of July.
Firecrackers and whatnot.
Yeah, I like to blow stuff up.
We did that.
A lot.
We did that this year. It was
I'd
good.
I'd probably be in jail if I was raised today.
I'm so glad you're not.
Yeah.
In jail. Okay, let's start this weekend's report in the Startron Central West region with Captain Jeff Page. I know you got permitos, Jeff, so talk to us.
Yes, I do, and I just want to hope everybody had a great Independence Day, 4th of July weekend. And you know what? The permit fishing in the Startron Central West region has been red hot as well, along with that water temperature. And it all starts offshore on reefs in as close as 3 miles this year, Rick. A lot of guys start out at 11, 12, and they've ended up in as close as 3 miles. And the bigger fish have been holding in that 3 to 11 mile range. And the key has been getting out there early when you have the east winds. We have west all this week, so it hasn't really been good permit fishing this week. But when you have these east winds in the morning, it's no problem running out, and even in a small flat skiff, provided the weather is right. It's a good idea that you should have at least a dozen quarter-size pass crabs. And this year has been a really good season for dipping your own crabs on the outgoing tide in most of our inlets and passes. You can also pick some up at your local tackle store and bait stand. Once you get out over your hard bottom areas or artificial reefs, in the morning, a lot of times the fish are going to be right up on top. And one of the most awesome features that we have in today's world of fishing is the spot lock control GPS feature that originated with the Rodan trolling motor. Try and stay a full cast or even 2 off the edge of your structure. And then it's a good idea to maybe free line a couple of the crabs. And then if they're not coming up high eating them, you maybe want to put a little small split shot, the lightest one they make, on your line about 3 or 4 inches above your crab. I have 2 permit photos tonight. First one is of Steve Wilkes with a nice permit he got with Captain Larry Maroney. And the second one is my man, Captain Josh Pruner, with a stud he got just a couple days ago.
Nice.
Both those fish were caught off Anna Maria.
Nice.
Staying offshore, a fish I know you guys catch a lot of down south, Rick, the Wahoo. I got good reports this past week of some quality Wahoos coming in when the weather was a little bit calmer and guys were able to get out that 80, 90, even 100 miles out. And they've been fishing big areas of bait over structure, high-speed trolling, bait, or even lip plugs for the good results. Captain Jason Stock, I have a photo tonight of full send with his personal best to date, 84-pounder.
That's a nice fish, man. All
Yum.
right, tell me what's going on inshore, Page.
Inshore, 4th of July weekend was a big snook fish fest with lots of big girls being caught and released safely along our beaches and our inlets. I even got guys, Rick, catching them on near-shore artificial reefs, something you guys have been doing down in your region for a long time. Well, it's becoming a regular habit up here in the Central West region. During the summer months when the water temperatures are getting up into the 90s, those big snooks are able to get out there on those reefs and hold on that bottom where it's probably 7, 8, even 10 degrees cooler. So that being said, a lot of the passes have had a lot of fish on them from Boca Grande Pass north to Stump Pass. And then also from New Pass north to Anna Maria. And guys have been getting the big fish on live pinfish, as well as big hand-sized magnum pilchards. Got a snook photo tonight of a good friend of the show and longtime CCA member, Lo Morrison, with a big girl he got with me the other morning on topwater plug.
Nice.
And our last species tonight, mango snapper. You know what? The mango snapper bite inshore is on fire. Probably the full moon made it better. But anyway, the fish have been holding on bridges as well as any structure in the passes, docks, rock piles, down trees. And then normally, you may not find this, but this year they're up on the grass flats mixed in with the speckled trout and Spanish mackerel and bluefish. Don't be surprised if you start catching some nice 12 to 14 inch mangs. And the cool thing is, Rick, you can catch them on soft plastics. You don't have to use live bait, like a little saltwater assassin 4-inch violet moon sea shad on a 1/4 ounce chartreuse jig head. It's a good idea maybe to chum up a little bit to get the fish fired up. And then small pilchard, you can cork them or you can just free line them. And my last photo tonight is with some happy clients of my good friend Gary Huffman of Tuna Breath Charters with some nice mangs they got. And I got to end this on one thing. CCA Star, remember the saying, you can't win if you don't enter. We had a visitor from Georgia this past weekend, caught a tagged redfish that would have been a contender, a Pathfinder, or a Hughes. And guess what? He wasn't entered and he caught one.
Oh boy. Sad song. All right, thanks so much, Paige. Great report this week. Appreciate you very much. Let's take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. He says still lots of big snook holding on the Venice jetties and New Pass Bridge. Fish the nighttime outgoing tide with free line silver mullet or ladyfish. And then offshore, mangrove snappers fish the area of hard bottom and ledges in 90 to 120 feet of water off of Anna Maria with fresh, live, or cut pilchards.
All right, if you want permit in the Fish Bites East region.
I do.
We all do. Being prepared and acting fast is key. So let's listen to Captain Mike Holliday to see what other info he has for us for the weekend. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Brie, you know, permit are one of those species that you have to target a lot and you have to spend a lot of time looking for them if you really want to get good at catching them. Just not giving up, looking is kind of the standard procedure around here. I know some of the places that they come, like there's been 2 permit in the years past, over 50 pounds caught off the Lake Worth Pier by anglers that were fishing calico crabs. Those are line class world records. There's a resident school of fish that hangs around the mouth of Lake Worth Inlet. You'll find permit crews in the beachfront rock piles, north of Jupiter Inlet, all the way up to Blowing Rocks. You'll find them on the rocks off Hope Sound Beach. You'll find them up around Walton Rocks, also around the St. Lucie Power Plant, and on some of the shallower wrecks in my area. And if we get some rain, the crabs will start flushing out the Fort Pierce Inlet. The permit will come to the inlet and start eating those crabs on the outgoing tide. In my region, you target them, you know, like everywhere else with a blue crab or a pass crab. You can free line them on a 3.0 trocar circle hook with a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. Maybe put a split shot on there a little bit if they're down a little bit. If you're out in that deeper water, you can add a chartreuse or a red 3/8 ounce saltwater assassin jig head. If you can't find crabs, you can fish a jumbo live shrimp. We're using that same rig. They'll eat shrimp pretty well. The average permit region is going to be 10 to 20 pounds. Fish to 40 pounds or more are common. The other thing, the summertime snook action has really picked up on the back of the full moon. There's good concentrations of snook in the inlets and also on the beaches to the north and south of the inlets, and then on the glass minnow schools that have pushed up on the beach anywhere from Hope Sound Beach all the way up to the Vero Cove. Find the glass minnows or snook all over them right now. One of the best places to target these fish is on the south side of Fort Pierce Inlet. The snook have the minnows bottled up in there, and they're in there for the first 100 yards from the jetty every morning and evening, you know, right at dawn and dusk. In the inlets, a live croaker, a threadfin, a pilchard, or a sardine. Those are going to be your hot live baits, either free-lined or fished on a 1-ounce sinker on that Palm Beach rig with a swivel on each end. Along the shorelines and beaches, the fish are feeding up in that shallower water. You can throw a copper juice-colored saltwater assassin 4-inch sea shad. I like to throw it on a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 ounce jig head. A live pilchard will also do in there. Average snook is anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds. You know, and here's a photo. If you want to try and beat the heat, do the nighttime nighttime, dock snook bite. That's Charlie DeBay with his first snook that he caught on fly, and just a really nice fish. And what's interesting, that snook would have been a great fish to enter in the youth division. He'd have had a chance to win a scholarship in the CCA Star Tournament. That's going on from now through October 4th. It's free to use from 6 to 17 years old to become a CCA New Tide member. That costs just $10, and you got a chance to win a scholarship. If you're going to be out there fishing, you might as well do it.
That's right. Thanks. Tell me about the offshore fishing, bub.
Well, the single most consistent blue water bite is the summer sailfish bite going on throughout the region, with the greatest concentration of fish on the east side of St. Lucie Inlet. The real key right now is to find the bait. The fish are really keying in on the bait schools that are either on the wrecks or just out there on some structure or up on the surface even. Off Palm Beach County, the bite's on the northern end in 80 to 150 feet of water. Off Martin and St. Lucie counties, the bite's in the bait schools in anywhere from 60 to 120 feet. Last couple of days, it's been about 100 feet just north of the inlet. I've even heard of sailfish in 20 feet of water up on the beach feeding on those minnow schools. You want to target them with a live threadfin, a pilchard, a Spanish sardine, or a goggle eye, 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, and Mustad 7.0 circle hook. You can slow troll those baits or put up a kite with the aid of a helium balloon and then power drift around those bait schools out there. You can also troll ballyhoo either naked or on a blue and white skirt. And the average sailfish in my region is right around 40 pounds. Now, the other thing, if you've been waiting to catch a red snapper on the reefs, the 4-day window runs this Friday through Sunday, so the July 10th, 11th, and 12th, and also includes next Friday, July 17th. Look for the fish out in the deeper water reefs. On the north end of my region, places like the 8 Mile Reef, the ledges that are 120 feet of water, and that area west of the Ocalina Bank that's open to fishing off of Fort Pierce. The current's been smoking north at anywhere from 3 to 6 knots all week long in those deeper areas. So you're going to have to use 4 to 8, maybe even 10 ounces of lead to get down and stay down. Rig it on a 60 to 80 pound braided line, triple swivel, 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, and 7.0 to 9.0 trocar circle hook. For bait, anything from a whole squid to a threadfin, a pilchard, even a mullet will get the bite. For the big ones, a live goggle eye or a speedo is pretty much money on those big fish. Average red snapper in region is going to be 5 to 10 pounds probably. With fish to 20 pounds. I got a photo. Ronnie Lowe caught that red snapper in 85 feet of water, and that fish ate a live threadfin.
All right, Mike, tell us about the bass report. What do you got this week?
Well, it's been crazy hot all week, and that summer heat is really impacting the bass fishing on Lake Okeechobee. I was talking to Captain Nathan Schellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He's saying you want to be on the water by 6 o'clock at the latest. He's on the water at 5:30. Most days, the hot bite, the schooling bite is over by 8 a.m. It may go to 8:30 on the overcast mornings. It may even end at 7:30 on some mornings. At dawn, the bass are schooled up, crushing shad around the Kissimmee grass beds and the eel grass beds, anywhere near Little Grassy Island, Kings Bar, Buckhead Ridge, all that whole stretch all the way down to Observation Shoal. And there's even some fish on the outside grass lines on the east side around Henry Creek and J&S Fish Camp, which haven't been good the last couple of years. Start your day throwing a white spinnerbait with gold willow leaf blades or Bass Assassin Didapper or Elite Shiner in any of the shad colors. As the sun gets up, look for the bluegill beds. Once you find them, you throw a chicken on a chain colored turbo shad or curly-tailed shad, anything with a darker body and chartreuse tail. It's a 20 to 40 fish morning. Be off the water by 10 o'clock. So, get out early on Okeechobee if you want to get the bite.
Thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the T&H Marine hotspots from the East region. He says that snook, tarpon, sharks, and jacks on glass minnow schools near Walton Rocks Beach, live mullet, opening night, split-tailed shads, and Bass Assassin swim plugs are going to work really well. Offshore, mutton snappers in 73 feet of water off the Loran Tower ledge, sardines, cigar minnows, and grunt plugs on a 50-foot leader, Brie, 50 feet.
Dang. All right, coming up next, we're seeking some permit out in the Keys region. But first, we're seeking out some rigs and techniques at the CCA Workbench with Dave Farrell. Dave, you got some permit catching tips?
I got some permit catching crabs.
That sounds better to me.
Yeah, Rick's going to show us how to rig these things up.
Rick is.
Catch one.
Rick is, not Dave. Dave's just going to hold it. We'll be back.
Exactly.
He's stroking my crab.
Stroking the crab.
Wow.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats, always in the game. Noble Air Charters, raising the bar yet again. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. And Daiquiri Deck, Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
Reliability. Yamaha is legendary for it. But it's more than a legend. It's something boaters have come to value. Why? Because it's rare. Because in this fast-paced, single-use world, few things are built to last. So when we find something that is, we hold on for dear life, to friendships, to traditions, to outboards. Because it's the lucky few who get to spend as much time on the water as they'd like. The rest of us, we look forward to those precious few days. That makes every second sacred. Every moment mean that much more. And it drives us to wring the most of every minute we get on the water, having incredible adventures, fighting the fish, making unforgettable memories. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose Yamaha for the long run, for life. Because reliability starts here.
What started in the flats and bays has migrated offshore. GPS-guided trolling motor technology has moved to boats in the 35-plus foot class and allowed anchoring capabilities on most center consoles in any depth of water. From snook and redfish inshore to grouper and swordfish way out deep, Rodan Marine Systems has a GPS anchor to hold your vessel on location. Set it, forget it, catch more fish.
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvi Sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of capacity. Alvi's state-of-the-art drag and 22-inch retrieve rate per wine is perfect for any surf challenge. Alvi reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvi also comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alvius.com.
So we're here at the Academy Sports and Outdoors CCA Workbench.
Yes.
And Dave, it's time for those rigs and techniques.
Well, we're talking about permit. You know, I don't get the chance to catch permits very often. I've seen a couple permit. I've actually tried to throw a fly at a couple in Antigua once.
Wow.
Big, giant ones, actually. They were large.
Just want you to know that's the hardest fish there is in the world to catch on a fly rod.
I can imagine so. I had no luck that day. I had no luck. It was a windy day. We caught a bunch of wahoos and said, let's go try to catch some permits on the flats. And guys holding pictures of great big ones. And I said, well, yeah, let's do that. Nah, didn't work out for me. But it was fun. And the reason you're here tonight is because you've caught a lot of permit. I've fished for a lot of them in the Keys. So, I get to ask you some questions.
So what do you got?
What's the best time of year to target the permit in the Keys?
So I would say it's not just the Keys.
South
I would
Florida.
say, even the Gulf Coast from Tampa all the way down, even up to Holidays region on the East Coast.
Lake Worth area.
Yeah. I would say the best time is from April through October. Permit like it hot.
Okay.
What they don't like is low pressure. They don't like when you get a tropical storm on us, it's really hard to find them. So they're a high pressure bluebird type of day, calm, they're there. They love getting on the wrecks and love being on the reefs, whether it's in 18 feet of water, 10 feet of water, and then obviously they're one of the great fish of the flats.
So when I've seen them on the flats before, but I'm a little curious about the wreck situation. How far out are these wrecks that you're going to out in the Gulf? To get even in 18 feet of water to 60 feet of water?
Sometimes on 10 feet. Sometimes you pull up to a marker, Everglades National Park, where you can see the beach. It's a mile off of the beach, and there'll be permit swimming around the marker if there's bait there. So it just depends. They're very attracted to structure.
So they will gravitate towards markers and buoys and just like a dolphin or something.
Correct.
So is there a tide preferred tide, or is it just moving water? Or?
Moving water is certainly one of the things they like. I prefer an outgoing tide if we're fishing the structure. But on the flats, you're going to want to fish the higher phases of the tide. So maybe the last 2 hours of the incoming, the 2 hours of the fall, so you got higher for them to be up there. They're much bigger fish than a bonefish.
Now, is there any special way to approach them on the flats? I mean, do you have to be I know that they're very spooky, and which makes them hard to catch. But is there a certain way that you have to approach them? I mean, if I was planning on to go catch one with a fly rod, how far do I think I need to be able to cast?
You need to be able to
accurately?
cast, in my opinion, you need to be able to cast the whole fly line. It's not a necessary, but if you can throw the whole fly line, you're going to be at a big advantage.
That's a lot.
Specifically, if you can throw it accurately, 90 feet plus the leader, 100 and something feet.
Okay, so forget about that. If you're using a bait, like what are these crabs here?
So Dave, here's what I'm going to tell you. The one thing I'm going to say is that you never lose a fish on a circle hook if you just reel and let it hook himself. So you're going to hook this fish, or this crab, I'm sorry, you're going to hook him in the corner just like so. Guys, I'm going to teach you a little trick. As we go through here, you see how this is a parasite that is underneath this crab. That grows there. When you go to the bait and tackle store, try to not buy the crabs that have that. Because guess what? This crab is not going to last near as long in the tank. He's going to only last 1 or 2 casts, and then he's not going to make it. They just don't do well when you throw them out and that thing is dragging. So that's a parasite. You don't want to buy them if you have a choice.
I gotcha.
Hook him in the corner with a circle hook. When you get a bite, simply just reel. I like using 20 pound. If the fish if it's clear water and it's a gin clear day, you might have to drop this down to 15. You heard Holiday mention 30. That's very acceptable.
Yeah, he's fishing in an inlet.
If the current's really ripping, you might want to put a split shot here to allow the crab to get down, because he sees that permit. He's going to try to skim up to the surface, and then the crab doesn't fall. Hit him in the face. That's the presentation. Don't reel. Let the crab dive below the permit. He'll eat it because it's a reaction bite, and we're out of time. Can you believe it?
There you go. 5 minutes.
Don't freak out. Just reel.
Just reel.
That's all I ever
Let
do.
the circle hook do its thing.
Just reel.
Exactly.
Slide to the corner and do it.
Speaking of what I would do to be in the Keys right now catching permits, so let's get Captain Randy Tao on the line to tell us where we can find him. Hi, Randy.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, listening to you and Dave talk about permit, it just gives me chills, because that's what I deal with all the time, chasing these things around. And I can tell you, there's a lot of ways to catch a permit throughout the Keys. You know, from Key Largo to Key West, all the way to the Tortugas, you've got permit, and they're a little bit different everywhere you go. You've got flats where they're going to show up, and you want big tides for that. We're coming off a full moon right now. So that those big tides, those higher tides, you're going to find the permits on the flats, and you're also going to find them out in the bays and also on the wrecks. And, you know, you really got to be set up. You got to be prepared. You want a kind of medium to a heavy spinning rod and live crabs. You talked about the different crabs. The male crab, that's the one without eggs. So if you get a crab that has eggs on it, chances are that permit's not going to bite that one as fast as he will one without. So just a little tip, when you go to the store and you get your crabs, get that male crab, and that's going to work the best for you. And certainly, if these fish are schooled up, if you happen to be in an area where there's a pack of fish and you throw into them, you're going to get a bite, and it's pretty easy living. You can take that challenge as high as you want it, as far as shallow water fly fishing or deeper water with crabs, and there's advantages to both. But certainly, they're a great fish. They fight really hard, and one of my favorite things to do this year and time of year, and right now is prime time. And I've got a photo of Sean Brighton with Blue Water Chairs out of Fort Lauderdale with his backcountry permit he caught.
Nice. What a great guy, great fish. All right, what else you got for us inshore, Randy?
You know, the redfish this time of year, you know, Rick, you talk about the heat. Some fish love hot weather, and redfish is one of those species that loves heat and mud, and they just show up more this time of year. And quality fish that are in the 20, 30, even 35-inch range up on the flats. If you've got a technical skiff and you want to pull around, you're going to find these fish around the Flamingo area. And if you've got a bigger boat, like a bay boat. I fish out of a Contender bay boat. So I'm looking for more water. I fish the shorelines, I fish the beaches, and I use most of the time a pinfish on a 3/8 ounce jig head, and that works pretty good for me. So it's a little different depending on what you're trying to do, but nonetheless, if you're up on the flats, gold spoons, jerk baits, that kind of stuff, it's a lot of sight fishing, which is really cool this time of year. And you can find some of these schools of redfish up on the flats. They might have, 30 or 40 fish in them. And I've got a photo, Captain Gary Sobrick with Ivory Charters here in Alamorada, fishing with Drew Kettlehut with his redfish he caught fishing around Flamingo.
Let's go offshore, bub.
The sword fishing, it's that time of year right now, the next couple of months. I love sword fishing, whether it's nighttime, daytime, it doesn't matter. But the weather is perfect right now, and most of the guys are daytiming, and that's a 15 to 1,700 foot during the day, 10 pounds of lead to get that bait down. And that's the routine right now for finding the swordfish in deep water. That's just how you fish for them. And it's pretty consistent, so guys are getting on them. And I actually talked to a friend of mine who went at night. We used to go a lot at night, but we've kind of shifted gears, and we've been doing it more during the day. But these guys went at night, and I've got a photo from Justin Hopper fishing out of Key Largo with his angler Ryan Spillman and Terrell Ray with a nighttime swordfish they caught just a few days ago, which is really encouraging because I love the nighttime sword fishing, and it's been pretty tough lately, but it looks like maybe it's coming back.
Quickly on the dolphin, bub.
The dolphin fishing, I can tell you, there's a lot of dolphin around. There's scattered weeds from 400 feet all the way out to 1,200 feet, and you got to look for the birds. The birds are key. Captain Alex Adler on the Kalex, this is what he does day in, day out, catching dolphin. And I've got a photo of what he does best, catching those dolphins.
Oh,
nice.
Cool.
Good job, Alex. Good job, Randy. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Sunset Inn hotspots from the Florida Keys region inshore. Redfish, look on the top of the flats in front of Flamingo on the rising tide, or fish the shorelines with bigger boats and use a 3/8 ounce jig head and a pinfish for the best results. And then offshore, look for those swordfish in 1,500 to 1,650 feet of water during the day, and then you might want to slide out a little deeper at nighttime, 1,700 to 1,800.
That's my kind of trip, a dolphin flush. All right, coming up is the Key West Marlin Tournament, July 22nd through July 25th, and is limited to the first 75 boats only. This year's tournament is featuring $50,000 in guaranteed cash prizes and coincides with the annual Hemingway Days celebration in Key West. To enter and find out more information, head over to keywestmarlin.com. All right, we're casting into the Casa Vieja Southeast and discover Crystal River Northwest regions next here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, plus talking with our friend from the Bonefish Tarpon Trust. So stay hooked and we'll be right back. Felt like singing. I don't know.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. Garmin, join the club. Florida Coast Equipment, Florida's largest Kubota dealership, serving Southeast and Southwest Florida and Florida's Space and Treasure Coasts. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you.
Every year, Noble Air Charter flies over 20,000 outdoorsmen and families just like you economically to over 300 Bahamian and Florida destinations. Noble Air Charter makes a substantial investment improving booking and aircraft route planning to create the most affordable and economical flight possible. And tomorrow, Noble Air's team will rise to the challenge to raise the bar yet again.
Navigating at night can be dangerous, even for the most experienced drivers. With over 400,000 pixels, Night Track makes it possible to navigate in the dark with confidence. Night Track seamlessly interfaces with all multifunction displays, 2013 or newer, and offers boaters or the outdoorsman peace of mind at an affordable price. For more information, call 251-605-9100.
Well, joining me is Dr. Ross from Tarpon Bonefish Trust. And you know, Ross, you guys have been doing some great research in regards to permit fishing, but acoustic stuff you've done in the last about 2 years. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
First, Rick, I really appreciate being on the show. And at Bonefish Tarpon Trust, we do research to make sure that our permit fishery in Florida is productive for not only now, but into the future. And right now, we have our permit tracking program going on, where we're trying to figure out where permit migrate to seasonally, how much habitat they use in their day-to-day lives, and when and where they spawn. And to do this, we're using a technology called acoustic tracking, where we implant a tag about the size of a AA battery into the abdomen of the permit. And then we stitch the wound up and then let that fish go, send us on its way. And with this, we get 5 years of information of where that fish moved, which is what we need to make sure that we really know what's going on with the fishery, and it can make sure that the fishery is managed well.
So Ross, let me ask you, you know, permit, are they a highly migratory, or what have you guys learned from this acoustic tracking?
That's a great question. As you know, and I grew up thinking that the permit would spend the winters in the Keys, and then they would migrate up the coast, the Gulf and Atlantic coast in the summertime up to Tampa and Naples. But what we found with this tracking work, we've tagged 150 fish so far here and 20 in Tampa, is that permit are really regional. A Keys permit you catch in the Keys is going to be spending its whole life there. A Tampa permit you catch in Tampa, it's going to be spending its whole life there as well.
So let me ask you, you know, what a great video here. Was this fish, how did he respond laying in that shallow water, obviously? So how did did you release him okay?
Oh, we released great. He almost broke the captain's arm trying to kick off after we released him. And they're such a hardy fish, and they're so great to fish for, and especially the catch and release.
So we have this acoustic tracking. Let's talk a little bit about the receiver that we see underneath. I mean, you guys put something in the permit, but then you have this receiver. Tell me how that works, Ross.
Rick, the technology works as there's a tag, and then there's a sensor, and the fish has to swim by this sensor for us to know where it goes. And this technology is really fantastic because the same technology that we use to track permit, researchers that track turtles use the same exact gear, researchers that track snook, redfish, trout, groupers and snappers, we're all using the same technology, and we all share information. So we get to know where our permit go when they swim over reefs and wrecks that people are looking at gag grouper stuff, and we get to share information back to the turtle people when a turtle goes over our seagrass flat.
So tell me about the old program where you have a ribbon tag. We're still in effect?
Absolutely. We work with captains across the state to tag these permit with dart tags, and with that we learn about how much permit grow, we learn about how much they move, and it becomes a great pieces of information with the tracking to really make sure we know what our permit are doing and we can manage them appropriately.
So if somebody has questions, where can they go to find out more information?
They can go to our website, Rick. It's at bonefishtarpontrust.org, and all our information should be there. And please join us. We're a great group, and we appreciate your time.
Doctor,
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you so much. You did a great job.
I appreciate it.
All right, where are we going next, Brie?
All right, in the Casa Vieja Southeast region, permit are everywhere. Well, kind of. Let's get Jimbo Thomas on the line to clarify. Hey, Jimbo.
Hey, Bree. Hey, Rick and Dave. You know, most fishermen think of permit as an inshore fish found on the flats, but we do see plenty of them and catch plenty of them on the offshore reefs and wrecks. But regardless of where you're fishing for them, they can be caught year-round. And then in the spring, around the full moons of March and April, these permits will school up to spawn on the offshore wrecks in anywhere from like 50 to 150 feet of water. And then on the calm days, you can spot these permits flashing up on the surface. They're also commonly caught off the beaches and also in throughout the all the inlets throughout the region. But by far the most popular way to hunt permit is on the flats, and most people think of permits on the flats. Now, when the wind blows, pushing in lots of sargassum weed, those permit will follow that seaweed in, and you can find them along the edges of the flats and the channels, and they'll be feeding on small crabs and shrimp that are holding in that sargassum weed. But then when that wind drops and the weed doesn't get pushed into the bay, that's when it's best to look for those permit tailing, mudding, or just cruising on the flats. Now, you want to look for flats with hard bottom that hold crabs, sea urchins, and other crustaceans that those permit feed on. And regardless of where the permit are or where you're fishing for them, by far the best bait is a live silver dollar-sized crab. And very rarely will a permit pass up a crab that you get in front of them. Also, live shrimp, pink 1/8 to 1/4 ounce skimmer jigs, and crab pattern flies. That's also great bait for a permit. Our good buddy Captain Joe Gonzalez, he says that the ideal permit fishing day is light wind in the morning, and you want to fish those permit that are pushing wakes and finning, and then in the afternoon have the wind pick up to about 12 miles an hour. And when that wind kicks up, it allows for improved sight fishing, and it makes for less glare. Now lately, he's been finding permit on the inside and outside flats from Soldiers Key south to Angelfish Creek. He's been fishing the hard bottom oceanside flats in 2 to 4 feet of water. He's been finding schools of 7 to 15 pound permit, and has been best on the incoming tide. And then we got snook anywhere from Lake Worth Inlet south to Government Cut. The snook fishing has been really good. You want to get out to your local inlet in the evening and drift live baits on both the incoming and outgoing tide. Now, just about any good live bait will work. Herrings, pilchards, pinfish, croakers, mullet, whatever you got around, those snook are going to eat it. You want to fish that live bait on a Jupiter rig, use 40-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 5/0 circle hook. If you don't have any live bait, jigs with soft plastics and also pink or chartreuse flare hawk jigs bounced along the bottom, that will get you some snook bites as well. Now, some of these snook have been up to 25 pounds, and don't forget, right now it's closed season, so they are catch and release until September 1st. Now, I got a photo here. This is Nathan Cochran with a huge 41-inch snook that he caught on a chartreuse flare hawk jig. Now, moving offshore, we're still finding dolphin on a daily basis, but we've had to weed through a lot of small dolphin to get a few keepers each day. And remember, they got to be 20 inches to the fork to be legal. And just like in the past few weeks, the fish have been offshore anywhere from 4 to 12 miles. They've been hanging around big patches of sargassum, anything floating, and also under birds. So they haven't been hanging under the birds have been on top of them. And there's a few larger fish, they've been traveling to the south, and they have had birds on top of them as well. Now, some of the fish are being caught on the troll using rig ballyhoo, small lures, and feathers. And once you locate a school, you can cast live baits, live pilchers, small blue runners, or cut bonita and ballyhoo. And there's also been plenty of bait under any of those big patches of sargassum you find out there, or anything you find floating. So keep a sabiki rod handy, and you can drop that down, catch some live baits, which is small blue runners that's hanging underneath that weed, and that's exactly what all these dolphin are eating.
All right, Jimbo, you're a little long, so we got to go. We'll get to the snappers next week. Thank you for such a great report and talking about the permit, but I got to go to the R&R tackle hotspots from the southeast region inshore. Look for the snook in the inlets and around the jetties using live baits and flare hawk jigs. And then offshore, look for the dolphin offshore around the weeds and the floating debris 4 to 12 miles offshore.
Our captains are just so thorough.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
They want to talk about permit for the whole 5 minutes.
I know. All right, well, all the dollars in the world aren't going to buy you a bite in the discovered Crystal River Northwest region. Now, if they're dollar-sized crabs, that's a different story. Talk to us, Hag.
Permit's one of my favorites, second to tarpon. We've got some great permit fishing in the southern half of my region. Our big fish, usually the 30, 45-pound fish, show up in the beginning of March in really good numbers. And those schoolie fish are not far behind them. The 10 to 20-pounders are usually not far behind them, and they get greater numbers. up to 100 plus fish at a time. And dollar-sized crabs are the bait of choice. Their permit has a hard time passing up a crab dinner, just like us. 25 to 40 pound fluorocarbon leader is a must. They got really good eyesight. 2 to 4 out hook, a hookup jig, and a 16th to an 1/8 ounce hookup jig works with a tail hook shrimp every now and then. But if you got a crab, that's hard to beat. Little tip I got for catching permit on structure that has a lot of overhanging stuff that a permit can get in and get under. I usually get on my Rodan and hit spot lock and sit over top of the wreck or sit up tight of the wreck, pitch crabs out and drift them back. And I use a light drag. Usually when a permit feels the sting of the hook, he's usually going to burn a straight line, and that's going to be your best bet of getting away from that wreck. So let him take the line, get off spot lock, follow him out there, then tighten your drag up. If you hook a 30-pound permit and you got a heavy drag and you're in 45 feet of water, he can run you out of that wreck without a problem. So light drag's a little trick I use to get him away from it. If you're anchored up, just throw an anchor float, chase him down, get on top of him, tighten it down before you can get back to that wreck. And I've got a photo here of a nice West Coast permit, a couple of them there.
All right, Hag, tell us what else you got for us offshore.
The grouper bite remains strong throughout the summer right now with summer in full force. You're going to want to go a little deeper. The water temperature is getting hotter, so the deeper you get, the cooler bottom temps will be, and it'll pay off getting out there. 90 to 200 foot range right now is holding good fish over rock piles, ledges, standard bottom rig with 100 to 150 pound fluorocarbon leaders and 8 to 12 ounces of lead, depending on the current you've got. 7 to 12 watt circle hook, depending on the size bait you're using. I always say this when I'm grouper fishing: start off with cut bait, get them fired up, they slow down, fire those live pinfish, live pigfish down, get the bite going again. And I got a photo, which we don't see a lot of, but nice Kitty Mitchell caught on a recent trip. They're a beautiful fish.
Man, that
was in 520 out of St. Pete.
All right, what else? Let's go inshore now, bub.
Captain Jimmy Huddleston of CaptainHud.com reports a good out of Ozona and fish a good snook bite right now. The large snooker hanging around right now on the points. Strong currents right now. 3 ounces of lead, croakers, pinfish, ladyfish. Peg them to the bottom, and you can get those bigger fish to eat. All those big breeder snooker laying out on the points and passes and rock piles out on the edge of the beach. We got a lot of tide right now. 40-pound fluorocarbon leader is a must, and I've got a great snook photo from Captain Jimmy. That's a beautiful fish right there.
Yes, sir. Looking good, man. All right, what else you got for us this week, Hag?
Captain John Lane with JB Charters out of Apalachicola says the redfish bite has been hitting right now on live pogies. He's using a standard bottom rig with a 2-aught strip hook, 18 inches of fluorocarbon leader, and 1/2 ounces of lead. They're mainly hanging on the deep water marshes and edges in the creeks. Best bite's been early in the morning and late in the evenings. And moving down the coast, Captain Mario Costello, which we're going to go see next week out of the plantation in Crystal River. Of course, his redfish bite right now is from Crystal River to Homosassa. He's working the mangrove islands that have been active with mullet schools and the points around the coves and overhanging mangrove branches. He's using both pinfish and select shrimp free-lined on a 4-aught circle hook in the middle of the incoming tide. The bigger redfish have been eating pinfish, and the slot-sized redfish have been eating shrimp. Most of the redfish right now have been ranging anywhere from 20 to 32 inches. And I got a picture here of Kennedy Fritz with a nice 25-inch slot redfish caught on a recent trip with Mario.
All right, what a beautiful smile. Thanks for sending in the pictures, guys. Jeff, it's time for us to take a look at the Alta Equipment hotspots from the Northwest region. He says inshore, snook along the beaches and passes, free line pinfish and sardines, and then offshore, mangrove snapper on the high relief structures in 10 to 70 feet of water. Use a tail hook shrimp and small pinfish on a knocker rig.
Well, Rick, Jeff Page kind of mentioned it, but CCA Florida Star just started, and already there's been 2 iHeartRadio tagged redfish recaptured during the competition. Tampa Bay and Sarasota Bay had unregistered anglers capture and release redfish with tags. You guys got to be in it to win it, so get registered to win at ccafloridastar.com.
Wow.
I don't know what else to say.
Nope.
Gonna win lots of prizes, I promise. All right, get ready for some accurate casting into the Bell's Central East region next. But before we go there, we're going to the CCA Workbench to see what new products Dave is showcasing to us. Anything drool-worthy, Dave?
I don't know. We're going to see if non-skid deck cleaner works on skid marks.
Yeah.
We're going to see if that'll work.
Okay.
Okay, you're holding those shorts.
We'll be back.
I'm out. Bree, you're up.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Ameritrail. Load. Launch. Relax. Real Legends. Exclusively at Bell's. Okuma. Inspired Fishing. Discover Crystal River, Florida. And Maverick Boat Group. Makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Stetson Blaylock, Todd Otten, Hank Terry, let's go!
Garmin LiveScope, I tell you right now, if you don't have it, you are behind. It's just wild. It's like a video game.
If you do not have that Garmin LiveScope, you are definitely missing out.
Bassmaster Classic Champion!
There are moments in our lives that make us realize how fortunate we really are. To breathe fresh air, to taste the salt of the sea, to be able to roam free in nature. The Florida Keys and Key West are now open to visitors. We have so much to be grateful for.
Well, we're here at the CCA Workbench, and it looks like we got some new products. Let's get right into it, Dave.
Yes, sir. First off, we got the Starbright non-skid deck cleaner. This is probably my favorite of all of Starbright's products. This is a miracle. This stuff is great. I have a little boat with a non-skid deck on it, and I used to spend hours scrubbing dirt out of that non-skid, and now once I got this stuff, all that's gone. You just spread that stuff on there, wet the boat down, spread that on there, and then spread it with a sponge and hit it with a hose, and it blasts all the dirt out of that non-skid. It uses these special polymers, these chelatins or whatever they're called, that lift the dirt out of the non-skid. It's just amazing stuff. It's good for all kinds of fiberglass.
And you use the
non-skid deck wax. It helps once you spray that on there. It's not slippery. You know, it doesn't add. It's a wax, but it's not slippery. And what it does is it keeps dirt and grime and fish blood, especially, from getting into that non-skid, and it won't let it stick. So once you use the deck cleaner, put the wax on, and you're golden.
You have to go to starbright.com to see how to apply both of these, right?
Very easy, very easy. Next, we have the Momoy Diamond Presentation. It's 100% pure fluorocarbon leader. It's got almost the exact refraction rate index of water, so it's virtually invisible in the water. It comes in two colors, pink and clear, and it's 100% fluorocarbon, so it's a little bit more dense than regular mono. It doesn't absorb water. It sinks a little faster. which is great when you're, putting a live crab on a hook, get a little
I
thing.
have found that fluorocarbon is more chafing resistant.
Yep, it's got a very good abrasion resistant. Comes in 13 different strengths from 10 pound all the way up to 180 pound test.
Nice.
On 25 yard spools or up to 1,000 yard spools. Diamondfishing.com. They got great stuff, and you will find a lot of good stuff when you go there.
Okay.
Next, we got the AFTCO boxer briefs. These are the fish away tackle boxers.
Tackle boxers.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to say tackle box. But anyway, it's to keep your tackle dry is their.
Oh yeah.
that's their slogan. 92% polyester and 8% spandex. They come in these just two colors. They're microbial.
Yeah, keeps the funk from growing within.
I don't know.
That's
Aft cool, aft guard. It's got the jacquard plastic on the outside. Dry fast, no chafing. Good pair of drawers for you.
Yeah. All right.
AFTCO drawers.
R&R tackle. Tell
Next,
me, Dave.
we got the Wahoo Magnet Senior. They got a big 10-aught Mustad hook in them. Come in several different colors. 400-pound cable on there.
Go ahead.
Look at there.
Keep talking.
Got
Red and
mylar,
black.
nice
Great
mylar,
Wahoo cover.
Nice mylar in there. Red and black is a good Wahoo color. They come in 6.5, 9-inch, and 13-inch. 3 different weights as well. 3 ounce, 5 ounce, and 9 ounce.
Look at the work here, guys.
Yeah.
It's just spectacular.
Nice beads in there for the spacing. So everything stays back where it's supposed to be, way back in the back. So when the Wahoo comes in and tries to get you, he's done.
Dave, let's talk a little bit about the packaging. The reason why they're so straight and so perfect, and obviously no kinks in your braided line, is because of Ray and his craziness about how perfect things have to be. And that's one of the things I love about it.
Yeah, you don't have to spend 10 minutes untangling stuff when you get ready to use it. You can clip those zip ties off and throw it right in the water, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and good job.
Yeah.
I mean, R&R Tackle is leading the way in new products and cool stuff.
Yep, rnrtackle.com.
All right, I'll let you put that back. Bree, I got to go to another region, please.
We have to go to another region.
Okay.
All right, Bell's Central East Regioners, once again, Jim Ross is gracing us with his space and this weekend's offering. Tell us what we're catching, Jim.
Well, we're catching a lot of stuff right now, but permit are not one of the things that are really easy to find in my region. But we do have a little bit of time during the year when guys can actually go out and target them. Now, if you look at Sebastian Inlet and Ponce Inlet, these two inlets have flow that bring sargasso weed or any of the inshore grasses out on the outgoing tides. And you get crabs flowing out on those outgoing tides with those weeds. Well, when you get those two things coinciding, that's when you have the potential for permit to show up. So those two inlets in the middle of the summer, and typically late June through the 1st of September, that's when you're going to find permit at these places. And they're just going to be, slurping those little crabs off of those little pieces of grass and clumps of sargasso that are flowing out on the outgoing tide. Now, another place you can find them is some of the wrecks between about 55 and about 90 feet of water. The Manna Camp, as an example, between Ponce and Canaveral, is a great place to find them in the summer months. You're going to need crab, though. They very rarely will eat anything but a crab. But if you see spadefish over a lot of the wrecks, or whatever wreck you see spadefish on, a lot of the times there are permit around it. They may not be intermingling with the spadefish, but sometimes in the mornings you see them actually doing that, where the spadefish will be up and finning, and the permit will be up finning as well. Now, most of our permit that are on these wrecks and around the tide lines and inlets are running about 15 to 20 pounds, but every once in a while you'll get one that's up to 30 pounds. And another fish I've got a photo of that you will catch over those wrecks and on those tide lines while you're floating those crabs out is a Jack Crevalle. Now, I've got a picture here of Jeff with a nice one that we recently caught. And these fish are just as strong, fight just as hard, but they just don't taste good. And permit do taste good. And even though most of the time we do catch and release our permit, it's one of those fish where most of the time people, let them go. But every once in a while, somebody will bring one home for the dinner table because they are a tasty fish to eat. Now, speaking of other things that are tasty, Rick, offshore right now, our mangrove snapper bite is absolutely fantastic. This last moon that we just had here in July was absolutely one of the best moons that we've had recently for the snapper bite. And the guys that are getting out overnight in the 70 to 130 foot zones and fishing that high release structure are doing really good out of Ponce and Canaveral, and actually out of Sebastian as well, which Sebastian typically doesn't have as good a mangrove bite as it does to the Canaveral and Ponce end of the region, but they have got a good strong bite going on right now as well. So you want to set up a chum slick, start drifting some chum back into it, little chunk cuts up, pieces of bait, just floating them back there. Put a small hook with about a 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader and a number 2, 1/0 or 2/0 little circle hook in there, and you can catch 4 to 8 pound mangroves almost at any given time during this time of the year on my region, especially at night, and some of those fish are going to go up to 10 pounds. Now, one of the other things that we're catching while we're doing that is cobia, and I've got a picture of a cobia here that we recently caught on one of those wrecks while we were chumming that way. Now, here's the thing with our cobia though, guys. Remember, the limit just got moved up to 35 inches at the fork. So you want to make sure with cobia that you don't gaff them. Please net them, because a lot of these fish are a little bit small. They look bigger in the water, but be real careful with them because they're not quite legal fish just yet. So just wanted to throw that little tidbit out there for everybody who's going to be out there this weekend. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is swinging back inshore is our tarpon. And my local scales apparel region, is one of the best regions for this time of the year to find tarpon in. We have tarpon in the Indian River from Melbourne to Titusville right now. The ICW channel and the north and south bridges in New Smyrna is also a great place to find rolling tarpon first thing in the morning or last thing in the afternoon. Live pilchards, live mullet, pigfish, all top baits. Free line them, or you can put them under a cork. And a circle hook that's a 5 to 7/0 size circle hook with some 60 to 80 pound leader is typically going to keep you from getting chafed off. Now, most of these fish are bigger fish right now. They're, like I said, 50 is going to be a small fish. 80 to 100 is going to be a good size fish or an average fish. And we've got fish into the 120, even to the 150 pound range. So please size your tackle accordingly. And then my last species inshore is the speckled trout.
Jim, we're out of time, bub. Sorry, we got to go. We got to take a look at the Rodan hotspots from the Central East region. We'll get that stuff next week. Inshore, tarpon in the ICW and New Smyrna used live pilchards or mullet rigged on a 5 to 7/0 circle hook. And then offshore, mangrove snapper on the wrecks in 90 to 130 feet of water. Drift chunks of bait back in your chum slick to fish for them up to 10-pound mangoes.
Our captains are so passionate tonight. I love it.
They're talking about permit for the whole report.
It's great. All right, Floridians, we're bringing you to the Garmin Panhandle and Alvey Reels Northeast region, so start your rigging. Plus, we're chatting with our special guest from Noble Air, which you won't want to miss. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy, where we post new content every week. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Alvey Reels, a better way to fish. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com.
Come explore untouched Florida, where you'll step into holy sea cow and fish pristine waters where you'll reel in, whoa! Come discover Crystal River with exciting adventures and incredible surprises everywhere. From exhilarating river adventures to scalloping in the Gulf to delicious fish to fork cuisine, this is the place where you can relax into Just a short drive from Tampa and Orlando is the amazing Discover Crystal River, Florida. Learn more at discovercrystalriverfl.com.
Dive into scallop season and become part of a tradition in Crystal River and Homosassa. Let local captains take you on an underwater adventure, dive into the warm, shallow waters of Florida's nature coast, and fill your bag with tasty bay scallops. It's like an underwater Easter egg hunt. Then enjoy a meal with the freshest catch around, yours. Discover Crystal River invites you to plan your scallop season adventure from July 1st through September 24th at discovercrystalriverfl.com.
And as you can see, joining me is Jonathan Jackson from Noble Air Charters, our partner in all our travel. Jonathan, you know, the one thing that I appreciate about Noble Air is that we have the ability to customize our packages. Why don't you tell people about our fleet of planes?
Sure. We have a fleet of 4 Cessna 402 turbocharged aircraft. We're based out of Opelika, Florida. We do a lot of trips to the Bahamas, from Chub Key to Nassau to Staniel, all the way out to San Salvador and back.
Way out.
Way out.
So we also have Boat Harbor, Harbor Island, as well as Bimini is a very popular destination.
Bimini as
Freeport as well.
Yes, sir.
So Jonathan, let me ask you, how many people can we take in a 402?
So we have seating capacity up to 9 people. We're doing that aircraft right now. We can seat up to 9 people.
So are the 4 airplanes, are they air conditioned?
They're all air conditioned, turbocharged, and they have all new interiors, every one of them.
So typically, how many pilots do we have?
2.
2 pilots.
2 pilots.
That's not typical as most charter services with a turbo airplane.
That's correct.
So the one thing that I think I love about Noble Air is having the ability to decide when I'm leaving. Is that pretty much the standard?
It is. Because we have 4 aircraft, we're able to accommodate all the schedules that the customer brings to us. So we can fly from here to San Salvador 2-3 times a day, and we can fit in the Biminis and the Chubs, and we can accommodate about 16 flights a day on 4 of our airplanes.
So let me ask you, why is Noble Air so much more economical or cheaper than the competition?
So we employ a lot of technology into our company to where it optimizes our routes, it optimizes the positioning of our airplanes the night before, and we also are able to accommodate routing for our customers in order to accommodate some trips. Instead of coming back to the U.S., we can hop from one island to the other, go pick a customer up, and make it more efficient for the customer.
The other thing that I love, so many times when I'm at Chubb, I already go over in the boat. So if you go over with 4, but you need to come home at 6, is that possible as well?
Yes, that's the beautiful part of it, is because we're flexible enough that we can accommodate, let's say you got a group of 6 going over to meet your boat in Chubb, and then you only got 2 coming back. We can accommodate that. And it gives you the opportunity to fill those seats with other people that you may have brought in on the boat that want to fly back as well.
All right, so where do we go to find out more about Noble Air Charters?
NobleAirCharter.com, click the Book Now feature, and fill out the form, and we'll get right back to you.
All right, guys, there you go. And you got a jet service starting in the fall. Can't wait. All right, Brie, where are we going next?
I'm on board for that. All right, we're up all day to get lucky in the Garmin Panhandle region when it comes to permit. So let's chat with our resident expert, Captain Pat Deneen, on the subject. Hey, Pat.
Bree, I'm going with Noble Air.
Me too.
Yeah, you are.
Hey, we don't have enough permit in the Panhandle to target, but we do have permit to target when you find them. Every year permits are caught, especially during the spring as the pompanos show up. They're usually smaller, 3 to 8 pound fish, occasionally a little bit bigger. And they show up in some oddball places. The Destin Harbor in the wintertime commonly has a small group of permit hanging around. The Destin Yacht Club, the Marine on the north side, and East Bass Towers Marine on the south side are usual suspects for the permits in the harbor. In fact, Captain Phil Gibson, the dock master at East Bass Towers, he hooked one earlier this week. And one was also caught last week in Rocky Bayou. So we do have them around, and I see them on the beaches early fall while red fishing. The Panhandle permit are a permit of habit. When you find them, they're going to be there for a period of time, sometimes a week or two, sometimes longer. And over the years, that's where you're going to find them on a regular basis. And as I said, we don't have enough to target them on your terms, but they are certainly up here and not an unheard of catch. And there's a photo sent in from Mike Roberson of Perdido Key. That's a typical size panhandle permit. He caught fish in the lights for trout with a live shrimp. And he caught that fish plus 3 or 4 others that night, went back the next day and caught several more and let them go. So like I said, they are a fish of habit. So once you find them, you can target them.
All right, what else you got for us, bub?
Rick, the tarpon migration's in full swing. They're swimming east to west along the Panhandle beaches. Anchor up and wait on them, or hunt the bar looking for the schools. Either way, be nice to the fish. Stay off of them a bit. Don't chase them with your outboard. We've had west winds earlier this week, and they're actually going to prevail through probably through the weekend. It's dirtied up the water pretty well. It makes them a little bit harder to see, but all the piers have had some amazing days lately. I'm using spinning tackle with 30 to 50-pound braid, connected to 30-pound fluorocarbon, connected to a 60-pound bite tippet and a trocar 7-knot circle hook. Baits of choice are going to be filters, herrings, and cigar minnows in that order, in my opinion. But you can also cast soft plastic swim baits or flies, and a swim bait is very popular off the piers. Average tarpon right now running 90 to 115 pounds. And when it's calm, it's always nice to get in the water and take a pic with them. With your trophy, there's a photo of a fish we caught, I think last week or so, down east towards Panama City. Get in the water, take your time, ensure that fish is healthy when it swims away, and make sure you leave it in the water when you take these kind of pictures.
All right, let's go offshore.
Yeah, Rick, moving offshore. Quite a few wahoo are being caught right now. Some are caught while trolling between bottom spots, but there are also some weed lines and color changes producing good wahoos. To target the wahoos on the troll, speed up a bit, 11 to 13 knots. That's slow enough still to get bites from dolphins and billfish, but also fast enough to entice some wahoos. Look for that surface structure, particularly structure that extends down into the water column. And if you troll by a log or a pallet or whatever, get a couple bites and then no more, next time you come by, stop the boat dead. Let your bait sink down into the water column and then drive away. That'll often entice another wahoo bite. Panhandle wahoos can be weehoos or studs. There was a 91-pounder caught this past week out of Pensacola. So, I mean, they come in all sizes. And then finally offshore. Oh, I'm sorry, Brie, what?
No, she didn't say anything. Go ahead. Go ahead. Red snapper.
My bad. Hey, finally offshore, the red snapper continue to be the main attraction. Definitely, they're going to be on structure, either natural or artificial. Fish high in the water column and work your way down until you start getting the bites. The bigger fish will often rise up and feed it. And it's also less likely to get rocked up if you get a bite from a bigger fish if you're well off the bottom. Prime baits being live cigar minnows and herrings. But don't overlook a live shrimp on a light leader, especially on some of the public spots closer to the inlets that have been fished pretty hard. And then remember to pull lures between spots for that possible wahoo bonus. Snappers are averaging 4 to 6 pounds, but there are some south snappers being caught as well in that 20 to 25, 30-pound range.
All right, Pat, thank you so much. Great report from the Garmin Panhandle region. It's time for the Blue Water Outrigger hotspots. He says inshore, Triple Tail and Apalachicola Bay on the markers and tide lines, use live bait under a float. And then offshore, run offshore of the Ozark and look for weed lines, dolphin and wahoo underneath those weed lines.
I didn't say nothing. That wasn't me.
I know. That was probably our producer fussing about something going long or something. But anyway, let's go to the next region. Where are we going?
We're going to go to the Alvey Reels Northeast region, where Captain Tommy Derringer is ready to answer those pressing weekend questions. But you know what? We're having some technical difficulties with Tommy, so I think you should read his report.
We'll start it off. We'll see if we can't get him on the phone. You there, Tommy? All right, go ahead, baby.
Here. Gotcha.
Surprise. He likes Santa Claus.
Okay,
I hope everybody had a fun and safe 4th of July, guys. You know, we really don't see many permit here in the Alvey Sidecast Reels Northeast region. I wish we did, because I love catching them. But, you know, when we do, it's usually a bycatch when we're fishing for pompano. We do fish for pompano a lot up here. Now, we don't talk about fishing from the beach that much, and that's just what permit and pompano fishing is here in my region. The permit that are caught here are usually caught along the beach, mixed in with the pompano during their migration. I spoke to a few of the best surf fishermen around, and they tell me they catch a permit or two every year, and they're pretty big fish when they do, sometimes in that 15 to even 30-pound range. Now, the pompano fishing has been really good this summer, but legendary pompano fisherman Larry Fishman Finch, you know, he has told me in the past the best times to fish for pompano is when the water's a little cooler, around 70 degrees. His favorite months are going to be late September through November. Now, there's a few things he looks for no matter what time of the year it is when he's targeting those pompano on the beach. The first is some clean water. Second is you want to make your cast to right where the waves are breaking on that outside bar. As the waves crash, it's going to disturb the bottom, and in turn it's going to disturb the bait, and that's where those fish are going to be feeding. Now, the third is the bait. Larry once told me that the pompano first hit the north end of the region. He's going to use small, fresh river shrimp, but when they work their way a little bit south, he's going to switch it up to a sand flake. Now, a lot of beach anglers also are going to have a great success with some fish bite strips. The pompano love those things. Now, as far as the rig, most are going to use a pompano rig with either a white or yellow bead, along with a 1/0 Eagle Claw circle hook. Now, if you need more info on pompano fishing, you can get one of Larry Finch's his instructional videos. He sells them up there at Strike Zone, Jacksonville. Now, staying inshore, guys, the tarpon bite continues to be strong here in my region. Seems like a lot of those really huge fish that we were seeing last week, it's kind of disappeared as they usually do during this full moon phase. They're probably maybe moving offshore to spawn. But there's still some really big fish hanging around, especially the bridges and the inlets this week. The best bite has been at first light or at night along those bridges. A large free-line live mullet has been the go-to bait. And the smaller tarpon are still thick in the residential canals throughout the region as well. Again, fishing at night in the canals has been really good, but right after these afternoon thunderstorms, it's also been really good. I think it puts a little extra oxygen in the water and those fish get fired up. And we've been pitching big free-line live shrimp with really great success to those smaller tarpon. Now, I've got a picture here. This is not one of those smaller tarpon. This is a big one that my client Tom Nauman caught just off of Matanzas Inlet this past weekend.
Well, that's a stud, Tommy. Good job. All right, let's go offshore quickly.
All right, I have to talk kingfish again this week, as they're just one of the most consistent things going this time of year. They're loaded up on the nearshore reefs right now in 60 to 90 feet of water throughout the region. The beach kingfish bite has also been really good. The tough part has been finding the bait. The pogies, they've been pretty much non-existent the past couple of weeks along the beaches. There has been some hanging out inshore in St. Augustine and Salt Run, but they've been pretty tough to come by as well. So if you're planning on targeting kingfish this weekend, stock up on some ribbon fish or some other frozen baits. Also big diving plugs and spoons. They're also an option, as well as some big live mullet. And those reef kingfish, they've been running about 10 to 20 pounds. I got another picture here. Captain Rob Bennett from coastalfish.net sent me this picture of his client, Tom Bankston, with a big beach kingfish. Now, staying offshore, it's going to be a big, big weekend out there, guys, with the opening of red snapper season. The red snapper and the mangrove snapper have been thick on just about any reef from about 65 feet and deeper. Now, the mangoes were spawning on this past full moon, and they're still going to be grouped up out there a little deeper in the 120 to 140 foot depth. The red snapper are also grouped up, but they can be found much shallower. Big live baits are probably going to be the best for big red snapper, but cut bonita is really hard to beat right now. Now, the usual frozen sardines, thread fins, and mackerel are also going to work well. Make sure to call your local bait shop. Make sure they have some of those things in stock. They're going really fast. And there's some new regulations in place, so be sure to go to mydfwc.com for all the newest info you need. Like I say, it's going to be busy out there. Be cool, guys. Give each other plenty of room so everybody can have a lot of fun. I got one last picture. Captain David Carruthers from stripandlipcharters.com sent me this picture of one of his clients with a monster red snapper he caught just northeast of Ponce Inlet.
Thank you so much, Tommy. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the northeast region. He says inshore, tarpon along the area, bridges, and the inlets. Fish the shadow lines at night and just before sunup using large free-line mullet, and then offshore, snappers on any of the reefs and wrecks in 65 feet and deeper. Use big baits or bonita strips for the bigger fish. What do you think, Brie?
Bigger fish. All right, up next, we're taking you into the Bell's Southwest region for some fighting action you won't want to miss. So stay hooked, and we'll be right back on the Florida Insider
Fishing Report.
Yep.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Fish for the world. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure, and Bell's, everything you need to live life local.
you live on an island, surrounded by warm, clear water, and a million ways to enjoy it, it's amazing you'll ever have time to come up for air. Key West. Close to perfect. Far from normal.
Get a great deal on the Kubota L-Series tractor. Built upon a solid foundation of cast iron and steel, the Kubota L-Series tractor is the #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S. for over 10 years. With a powerful Kubota diesel engine and dependable gear or HST transmission, it's ready to take on your toughest projects. Right now, get the L2501 HST for payments as low as $149 a month.
Florida Coast Equipment, Florida's highest volume Kubota dealer.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com.
Today's Powerful tip is about the new Charge Marine Power Station. After the charge is installed in your boat, the key thing to do is to log into the Sea Monster app and let the Charge know what type of batteries you're working with. The Charge is designed to work with gel, lead acid, AGM, even lithium batteries, but the key is letting it know what you got in the boat. So for our trolling motor batteries in this Pathfinder, we've got 2 Odyssey trolling motor batteries. They're big, deep cycle batteries that last all day long. I want to go into the Sea Monster app and let it know exactly how much reserve capacity is in those batteries, and Charge is going to optimize and charge those to the fullest. But for our cranking battery, we've got a different chemistry. It's a lead acid. We will do the drop down and let the Charge know we're working with the lead acid battery on the cranking side, how much reserve capacity is in that, and the Charge is going to optimize a different battery type for your outboard. For more information, go to powerful.com, and that's your tip of the week.
We're always seeing great permit reports from the Bell's Southwest region, and this week is no different. So let's listen up to Captain Ronnie Houston for the 411. Go for it, Ronnie, fast.
Like always, it's a pleasure representing the Bell's Southwest region. You know, permit can be found throughout the region, and typically as early as April and as late as October. And that all depends on having a mild winter. As we get into fall, water temps continue to stay warm. A couple of different ways to find them is the grass flats, edges, also can be found traveling in groups of migrating tarpon, but the most common way to target them will be wrecks, artificial reefs, rock piles. Structure is going to be the key. Now, there's several ways to target the structure because once you hook one, that's where the fish is going to want to go. So being on the outskirts, having your bait stripped to it so when you hook up, you can stand a chance of keeping the fish out of it, making several drifts across it and on the outside of the structure instead of being on top of it. But then also having an anchor ball. So if you're close to the structure, you're going to clip the ball, steer the fish away, and if successful, once you land the fish, you can get back to the area where they're schooled up. Now, tackle, I strongly suggest a reel minimally of a 5,000 series minimum reel. I like the Akuma Azores. But then fluorocarbon is going to make a difference too. 30 to 60 pound, and that'll depend how close you are to the structure. A good Trocar 40 to 60 circle hook, and weighted unweighted baits depending upon where the fish are in the water column. Now, crabs are generally the #1, but you can also use live shrimp, bright colored bucktails, and goofy jigs. And I got a picture of the goofy jig master while fishing with Captain Brian Sanders down in the Southwest region. Now, on the offshore side, the red snappers. And the reason I talk about it due to the limited season, Captain Mike Avanon out of Naples has been targeting the red snappers in depths of 140 to 200. And he's also using a variety of baits just to see what triggers the bite and see what they want most, you know, especially with the water current. Keeping the bait on the bottom is going to be the most important. Weights varies from 6 to 10 ounce, and varying the baits, whether it be squid, herring, sardines, live grunts, and pinfish, but also being on the move. If you continue to catch smaller fish, keep an eye on your bottom finder to find fish that are stacked up, and on certain days, you got to have patience. But in those areas, reds and gags are mixed in. A recent trip I just took with Capt Mike, we got out to 200 feet of water, we struggled. Back down in 190, we struggled. Once we got into 185, there was a problem with the current. We had to go from 8 ounce to 10 ounce. But you know what? We kept altering the baits, kept moving into certain depths. Finally, we got 157 feet. On the bottom finder, the fish were all stacked up. In a matter of about 8 minutes, we had 12 red snappers and had a limit of fish. So it was a struggle all day, but all the point I'm trying to make is follow these principles, and sooner or later you'll be rewarded. I got some pictures of some nice red snappers that were just caught on that trip. From Joe up in Punta Gorda while fishing with Capt Mike. And I got some other guys who decided to run out to the Pulley Ridge. They were fishing from 250 to 280, and they caught all kinds of fish, from groupers to snappers to gags and reds. So there's plenty of fish out there. Some days you got to work for it. On the inshore side, the snook bite remains to be strong throughout the region, even though the water temps right now can vary from 88 to 92 degrees. But Captain Danny Latham says target the passes and outside beach, Sanibel the Stump Pass, as well as the sandbars and islands. And for him, most guys to the north are chumming pilchers as well as pinfish and herring in those areas. But to the south, from Coon Key to Lawson's River, pilchers and threadfins. But at night, with the moon we're having right now and the passing of it, using a variety of artificials on the outside points, topwater walk-the dog lures, also bass assassin diatoppers on quarter-ounce jigheads. The darker colors seem to be working great with the night bite, especially with the moon out, with a steady retrieve. Also lipless crankbaits from 6 inches to 2 feet over the bars in white, olive, chartreuse, and black and silver. I got a picture of a nice oversized fish caught while fishing with Captain Brian Sanders. The last species is going to be the trout. Targeting the bigger trout, concentrate your efforts on the deeper glass flats right now from regular key to panther key, depth from about 3 to 6 foot of water. Also redfish past the Cabot's Key. Using live pilchers and chumming pilchers to locate the bigger fish. You can also use a variety of topwater walk-the-dog lures along the bars and schools of mullet in the shallower water, as the bigger trout right now are traveling with the mullet, and believe it or not, they're traveling with the large schools of snook. And I got a picture of a nice trout that was caught down south. Here again, throwing topwater lures all day while fishing with Chris Clark, who won the CCA trip with the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. Great report. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can. Southwest hotspots inshore, redfish, smokehouse, bull, and turtle bays are using cut baits on the higher stages of the tide along the mangroves for those redfish. And then offshore, mangrove snappers, Sanibel to Stump Pass, 65 to 80 feet depths, fishing wrecks, ledges using chum and cut baits, Brie.
Well, Rick, time flies when you're having fun. And
Man.
all the reports are in, and we're ready for another unforgettable weekend in this beautiful state of ours. But don't leave us just yet, because we're going to tell you what our theme species will be next week, only on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and it's a good one.
It is a good
It's
one.
a good one. Dave?
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO Offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser! Left flat as well, 2 fish! They're everywhere! Right flat teaser as well! Left flat, right flat teaser!
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
That's the one!
Next week, we're talking marlin. Dave's going to get us some marlin right here in the Florida Insider
I'm going to come in with a big yellow pad of questions for you.
Good. Right? He's finally going to start working.
Maybe my tongue will work.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Your brain will work because this is just going to be like second nature to you. It will be. It's marlin.
I tell you what, Dave, if you go get a haircut before next week, I bet you'll be able to talk.
I'm not getting a haircut.
Why not?
I'm going wild.
You're not receiving brainwaves.
Oh,
going wild for the winter.
Fashionista, microbial. We'll get this, Dave. That's what we're here for. We love you.
Gosh,
all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Go catch up with Permit.
When I was a kid.
See you next week for Marlin.
Me and Brie going scalloping in Crystal River. Come
So am I.